Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm discussing Chungking Express, the 1994 film from Wong Kar-Wai, a great director who's directed a number of films in the collection, most notably In the Mood for Love. I think this hadn't had a release in a long time from Criterion, and they put out a 4K and a Blu-ray. And this film, if you haven't watched it, is a really unique experience. It's very fun, breezy, entertaining, charming, but you have to go into it, in my opinion, with a very certain mindset. And that mindset is throw any expectations of a linear, traditional narrative out the window. Because this film does cross two-ish narratives. A couple of cops that strike out maybe with one love interest and perhaps find another. Roger Ebert, who wasn't as in love with this movie in his 96 review as I am now, had this to say of it, and I think this is a good sort of starting point. When talking about the film, he said both of the stories that I just mentioned about disconnections, loneliness, and being alone in the vast city are photographed in the style of a music video, crossed with a little guitar, and he notes signs, slogans, pop music, and some Cassavetes, improvised dialogue and situations. What happens to the characters is not really the point. The movie is about their journeys, not their destinations. These are aimless characters that, for me, are wondering about trying to make sense of their lives, trying not to be lonely, and figure out how to date and interact in a complex world. And sometimes the best they can do is have a little bit of fun with a catchy tune or a good meal. It's a film that if you've ever been lonely in your 20s, I think you're really going to appreciate in such a unique way. There are moments in this film when a character will be doing something as simple as eating. In fact, there's one character that gets this fascination with eating some expired pineapples. I think you'll appreciate that part. And you just feel like you've been there. Maybe you've worked a long shift at a restaurant, or I used to work at this gas station, and sometimes I'd come back and just feel that, existential, deep sense of loss. And I don't know what other way to put it other than what the film provides us with, which is just this aimlessness. And it's entertaining, and it involves you right away, but in a way that feels very youthful, such as what Ebert was saying there, and with some of that editing feeling like a music video. I mean, there are sections here, like there are shootouts in this, and instead of showing you all the time like something you might see with City of God, where you have a fast, frantic editing, but you know exactly what the action entails, you'll get like blurred vision of it, almost like you're in some kind of a drunken stupor as you're watching it, just like the characters, and you don't get that kind of clarity. It feels as if you're left a little bit in the dark on purpose. Yet, in another frame, when there's something seemingly less substantial going on, you'll see all the condiments of a restaurant right in front of the screen, like very close to your vision, and you'll be focusing on the condiments in like these ketchup containers or sauces or whatever they are, as much as anything else on the screen. Everything is incredibly hodgepodge together, but beautifully so. Something like an improvised quilt. The essay in here is fabulous, by the way. This is I've read about half of this so far, and I've really enjoyed it. And it had a little bit to say about that while I'm talking about that. This is what it said. So I'm going to read you from that like second body of text down to try to sort of give a little bit more explanation of what I'm trying to say here. So it was made while Wong, the director, was taking a break from a lengthy and difficult post-production of a martial arts period picture called Ashes in Time. So the Chungking Express was intended as a money-generating quickie for the director's Jet Tone company. And that's going to reflect some of the style, right? And indeed, the movie, which was made in 3 months, start to finish, has a wacky spontaneity that is unique here. There are, it talks about him piling on commercial elements, such as this kind of gangster thriller that itself has an element to it that is a nod to Cassavetes, who I just mentioned. And then there's a screwball romance comedy. There's a woman who's breaking into an apartment, yet somehow we kind of cheer her on. There are, flight attendants who move in and out of people's lives, and everything just feels like living in your 20s, or at least the way my 20s worked out. Now, you all will have to tell me if you have that vibe or not as you watched it. There are a number of people in this film who had a cultural significance, such as this singer turned actress named Faye Wong, who's talked a little bit about in here. You'll recognize her. The song that's very notable from this that gets stuck in your head after watching it is "California Dreamin'." And if you're familiar with that song, if you're not, you will be by the end of this film. That while that kind of has a very distinctly like 70s vibe or something, the film feels astonishingly modern, but it keeps you dreaming all the time about where you might go next in life. Where might this character go next? It's an exquisitely filmed movie. If you weren't super into the plot necessarily, which is, like I said, the plot is, it's a little scattered. It's a little tough to follow. You would probably be into the technical prowess of this thing. I mean, the way it's photographed, the confidence in the camera, the movement, everything about that feels like Wong Kar-Wai had a mastery of filmmaking even at this point in time. And I think even with something like In the Mood for Love, you see that even more so. But I think that's why so many people are drawn to this director, is just the beauty of the film and the vibe and the carefree ease that it kind of gives you despite how lonely the characters feel. It's like, as you're watching it, even though there might be some real lows for these characters, you always have a sense of hope and purpose, and it's just really engaging for something that, like I said, is not linear in any way. It's definitely artsy, but it doesn't feel like it. And so I really like Chungking Express for what it is, but I do want to warn people, like, I think, for some reason, I was thinking of what the antithesis to this film would be. And I was like, I wanted to warn people who might think that they're getting something like Remains of the Day. That film, I was like, what's the exact opposite? Okay, Remains of the Day. A carefully constructed narrative about the downfall of a man who was too lonely in his own life and too dedicated to his work. That's The Remains of the Day, a great film with Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson. That one just kept coming in my head as an antithesis. It's not that. Like I said, it just moves free and easy, almost as if there aren't rules. Funny enough, a comparison that you might make, even though I'm really kind of stretching it here, is Man with a Movie Camera. A film that just felt like, from the 20s, an old silent film that just felt like throw the rules out the window, photograph some stuff you like, create a vibe, and go with it and see if the audience joins you. Quentin Tarantino is a big fan of this film. I am as well, and I like what it does do. I vibe with it, enjoy it, sit down, have some fun with it. It will probably. I would not recommend watching this film while you're hungry, because it makes you want to eat stuff because there's so much food in it. There's a terrific shot where there's some food on the left side of the screen, and this character's trying to decipher something. This like water smudged paper. You'll see what that's about. So there's the food on one side of the screen, and he's like trying to decipher the whatever's on that paper. And then there's water right in front of him, and we don't get a good look at him either. But the water's pretty, and then the food's pretty, and you want to eat the food. And you kind of sit there and have dinner with the guy, but you also want to help him figure out what's on the piece of paper that he can't see. And real relaxing film. And there's also a lot of alcohol in it. So it's, something you should see. I think if you're the kind of person that likes the artsy stuff in the collection, you should get it. The Chungking Express, get this if you're into the artsy stuff, unless you already have the pack with all the Wong Kar-Wai films. But if you don't, definitely get this. And if you like comedies in general, this kind of does have a comedic vibe to it. If you prefer a really straightforward, like ABCD plot, don't, because that's not what this is. It's a fairly experimental. So be aware of that. I like the film. I hope you do as well. And one last thing I would say about it, just to add to this, like, if you enjoy directors who enjoy the concept and the celebration of film, you will love this. I touched on that a little bit by talking about, the Godard references, which are in here all over the place. The Cassavetes, you're going to definitely feel that. But also, there are some moments that I swear were pulled right out of a Bresson movie. Maybe with the hands, maybe a little bit faster pace. But I just felt as I was watching this that this was someone who loved photography, music, art, movies, everything fun and good in life. So If you like this review and found it to be helpful in any way, if you could do me a favor and click that like button, it will help grow the channel. I cover quite a bit of Criterion related stuff on here, and so if you're into that, check out some of my other videos. Look at me, look at me on Letterboxd. I'm on there too. Consider subscribing because you'll find more of this sort of stuff. And yeah, let me know what you think of the film or others like it. We'll see you next time on Cody in the Cinema.